Earlier we looked at how to create dynamic drop-down charts. Now we are going to create another type of dynamic chart, this time not using the drop-down but using something called as a spin button. A spin button has two types of icons. One is the up icon and the second is the down icon. You click on the up icon to go 1 year ahead of your data, and you click on the down icon to go 1 year back in your data. These are specifically used when your data contains years and not text as the header, because they can only work on numbers which years are, but text are not. So remember, use it only when you have your data involved in your original data. Let's see how we can create a dynamic spin button in Excel. I am in the control spin worksheet of our file. Before creating this chart, we need to enable developer tab in Excel. Let me show you how you can enable developer tab in Excel. You go to File, Options. Inside Options, you go to Customize Ribbon. And in the second list, the one to your right hand side, you see something called as Developer, which will not be having a tick mark on it. Just put a tick mark here and click on OK, and you will be having the developer tab at the top. You can click on OK. As you can see, we now have the developer tab at the top. The data that we are dealing with here is similar to what we had for the drop-down dynamic charts. Again, we have a few products. This time the data is for different years instead of different months. So we have data from 2009, the year 2009, and the year 2019, and everything in between. So we have data for how many years? We have data for 11 years from 2009 to 2019. What I have done this time is, instead of using a drop down for these years, I have used a button. This button has an up arrow and a down arrow. Clicking on the up arrow will change your chart to the year after the selected year. Right now, I have the 2014 year selected. If I click on the up arrow, it will change to 2015. Again, click on the up arrow, it will change to 2016. If I want to go back to the previous year, I can click on the down arrow and it will go back to 2015. This button is controlling my chart here by changing the different years that I have in my data. The concept behind this chart remains the same as what we had earlier. The magic happens in the dynamic data. This is a simple column chart. Here we have added a new thing of a developer tool called a spin button. We'll be looking at how to create this, but very important thing to remember, here the magic is happening at the back end. So if I move this chart, you can see where the data is coming from. Again, it's not coming from the original source, but a subset of it, the one that we have created here. Let's delete this data. Let's delete this chart as well. And let's delete this button as well. Let's start off from fresh and think about how we can solve this problem. One thing is clear, our year will be changing. What will remain the same? The products that we have. As you can see, we have data for all the products for all the different years. So our column chart will be having different columns for different products, but it will keep on changing based on the year that we have selected. Again, I'll be simply making the few things constant that we have. So for each and every year, I will obviously be having the product header. Similarly, for the next cell, I can say is equal to furniture, because I will always be having furniture. And then I can drag it down to have my data till wallets. The last cell will be is equal to A6, which is this cell. This will remain the same irrespective of whatever year we are in. Year in this cell, we need to specify the year that we are in, somehow connect it to a button which we haven't inserted till now, and later make data appear in these cells based on the year that I have selected in this particular cell. Now let's see how we can do that. Let's start off with the easy part. Let's keep a fixed number here. Let's keep 2015. We'll come to how to make this dynamic, how to add the buttons later. For now, let's simply keep this button, let's keep this cell actually simple, which is 2015. And based on this number of 2015, I want data for that particular year. For furniture, I'll start off by writing is equal to, again, we have to use the index match formula. I will say index. Array will be my entire data. Row number this time again will be specified by the different products that we have. And column number will be specified by the year that we are in, because columns are having different years and products are in different rows. I'll be starting off with the match formula again. Lookup value this time will be furniture, comma. Lookup array will be my entire first column from A1 to A6, and it will be an exact match. Bracket closed, comma. Column number again will require a match formula because we are trying to match 2015 to a number in our first row. So our lookup value will be 2015, which is this cell, comma. Lookup array will be our entire first row because that's where the year's headers lie, comma. Exact match, bracket closed. Again bracket closed to close the index formula. Our formula is complete now. If I hit enter, I get the answer of 42,566. Let's see if the answer is correct. As you can see, for furniture in the year 2015, the answer is 42,566. If I change this to 2013, or let's say 2009, and I hit enter, I get the answer of 2009. We have figured out how to use the index match formula. Next step is to copy or drag it down till the last product in our data. Before doing that, we again need to fix a few things. You have two options: either fix things, keep it easy for you and drag it down, or do the tedious method of writing index match formula from scratch for each and every product. I'll be going with the first method, that is fixing or making a few things constant and dragging it down. I'll be editing the cell by pressing F2 or double clicking on it. The first thing that we have is the array. Array, that is our entire data. The range for it will remain the same irrespective of the different products that we have. So I'll be locking this. Coming to the first match formula, the lookup value that we have is the product cell. I want furniture to shift to toys. I want to look for toys if I drag it one cell down. Shift to electronics if I drag it further, and so on. So D11 will not be fixed, because if I fix it, I will get the answer of furniture all the time for all the different index match formulas that I have in my data. Keeping D11 not fixed, I'll move on to the next part, which is lookup array. Lookup array is basically where do I want to match this furniture to. I want to match it in this particular column. This column will remain the same irrespective of the product that I am matching. Because if I don't fix this and if I drag it down, this column data will also shift one cell down, which is something that I don't want, because then it will discard the first cell and pick up the empty cell at the bottom. So I'll be fixing this. I'll select the entire range of data and press F4. Coming to match, here I have the lookup value, which is determining the year that I am in, which will remain constant. All the different index match formulas will derive the year from this particular cell only, which is E10. So I'll be fixing this by pressing F4. Lookup array, again, as I explained earlier, I don't want that to shift irrespective of the product that we are looking at, because if it shifts one cell down, if the entire row shifts one cell down, it will start looking at the furniture data and not the year data, which is something that I don't want. So I'll be selecting my entire data, press F4, and that's it. I'll hit enter, drag it down, and just cross check if the answer is correct or not. Let's go to the year 2018. The data is 21,000 for the first one. That's correct. 38,000 is also correct. Last value is 57,000. That is also correct. So our formula is working. We are getting the answer using the index match formula for all the different products that I have here. Now we need to add a button which will somehow control the data in this cell. How do I do that? By going to developer tab, the one that we currently inserted in our ribbon. Then under the controls section, I go to insert, click on the insert drop down. Under form controls, I select the spin button, which is the fourth icon from left. This is the first, second, third, and the fourth icon, which is the spin button. If you hover over it, you will also see the text spin button. Click on it. Once you click on it, Excel will allow you to draw it on your worksheet. I can simply click on my screen and drag my cursor to draw a spin button like this. Then I can adjust the height of it, the size of it, the way I want. Once done, what you need to do is somehow link this cell and this button. Right now, if I click on the up and the down arrow, nothing happens because Excel doesn't know what to change. We need to specify it for Excel first. How do I specify it? By right clicking on my button. What do I do? Right click on my button. Remember, do not left click. Left click will actually help you click on these buttons. It won't let you edit the properties of this button. So you need to right click on it and go to format control. That is, modify your control to link it to this cell. Under format control, you have multiple items that you can specify. Current value, minimum value, max value, incremental change, and so on. So here, let's go through all of them one by one and understand what these things do. The first thing that we have is current value, which is basically Excel asking you, what do you want to set it as currently? What do you want the default value to be? Which means that if no one has ever used this button, if the end user never uses this button, this will be the default value in this cell. Let's keep the default value as the beginning value that we have in our data, which is 2009. Let's change this to 2009. So if the user never uses this button, the constant value or the default value that we have here will be 2009. Coming to minimum value is the minimum value that you want the cell to go to. I'll be setting this as 2009 because our data begins at 2009. I don't want the user to go to 2008 or any other value below 2009, which will end up having an error in the index match formulas because it won't be able to find, let's say, 2005 in our data and end up giving you some kind of error in this particular part. I'll be selecting this as 2009, and similarly for maximum value, I'll be keeping it as 2019 because any value above it, which is not there in our actual data, will end up in some kind of error in this particular formulas. Then we look at incremental change. Incremental change is basically by how much do you want to change the value if you click on the up arrow or down arrow once. For example, if this cell is set to 2009 and if I click on the up arrow with my incremental change set to 1, that 2009 will change to 2010, which is 2009 plus 1. If you want to decrease it and if you click on the down arrow, it will also decrease by 1. So this incremental change is the additional plus or minus that will be done using these buttons. I'll be keeping it to 1 because I want to move 1 year ahead or backwards. Finally, we look at cell link. Cell link is basically what cell do you want to control using this button? Do you want to control this cell or this cell or this cell? I want to control this cell. That's why I'll be entering E10 in cell link. Then click on OK. And as you can see, the default value is set to 2009. I can click on the up arrow and it will change to 2010, which is an incremental change of 1. Click on the up arrow again, again, and as you can see, it's moving with an incremental change of 1. I can click on the down arrow and it will also move backwards with an incremental change or incremental decrease of 1. If I further click on the down arrow, nothing happens because I have set my minimum value to 2009 and I'm already at 2009. Clicking on it further will change nothing here. Similarly, if I'm on 2019, I cannot go beyond that. So now this button is controlling the data that I have here and is not going above 2019 or below 2009. And it's moving in an incremental change of 1. One thing that is remaining here is to select this data and insert a simple column chart. You can go to insert, go to a column chart and insert a column chart like this. The problem with this is that there is no way for me to specify the chart title. I have my buttons in place. If I click on this, my data changes and my chart will also change. But I need to somehow tell the end user what year they are looking at. Simply having chart title will not convey or does not serve that purpose. If I click on the up arrow, my data is changing. My chart title is remaining fixed. It's constant. It's actually nothing as of now. One way to change this is to manually go to the chart title, selecting chart title text and changing it to product sales for your 2017. That's what we are in right now. And then get out of it by clicking somewhere else. Now I have my title, but see what happens if I change this to 2018. My data correctly changes to 2018, but my title still is 2017 because I have inserted that manually. So what is the fix for this? How do I make my chart title also dynamic? By using the AND formula. We have already looked at the AND formula in the formulas module. Let's apply the same formula and concept here to make our chart title dynamic. I'll go to any random cell. Let's say I want to go to this cell. I'll start off by writing is equal to, in double quotations, say product sales for your, add a space after it and close my quotations. This is the fixed part of our AND formula. This will remain the same irrespective of the year that I am selecting. Once I have this fixed part, I can say AND this cell. What will I get in this case? I will get product sales for your, a space after that, and whatever is there in the cell E10, which is 2018 in this case. If I hit enter, I get the answer 2018. If I click on the down arrow, it changes to 2017. Again, down arrow changes to 2016. That's how you can use AND formula to create dynamic text. Again, we have simply added a fixed part, which is double quotations, product sales for your, at a space and a space at the end, and whatever is there in this particular cell. The only thing remaining now is to add this to our chart title, so that if this data changes, our chart title will also change. How do I add this to my chart title? By clicking on the chart, then clicking on the chart title. Once I have my chart title selected, I can go to the formula bar. Remember, I'm not inside the editing of my chart title. If I was inside the editing of my chart title, my cursor would be somewhere inside the chart title. That's not what I'm trying to do. I have simply clicked on my chart, then clicked on my chart title. I am not inside the editing mode of chart title. Make sure you are not inside it. Once you have this selected, just go to the formula bar and say is equal to this cell. Basically telling Excel, give me data as chart title, which is there in this particular cell. If I click on OK now, you can see that this is now deriving the value from this particular cell. If I click on the up arrow, this changes to 2017, which in turn will change this to 2017. Click on the down arrow, changes to 2016 again, and this will also be 2016. So now our chart title is coming from whatever data is there in this particular cell. That's how you can make your chart title dynamic as well. Last thing, if you want to combine your button and your chart so that both of them move together, because essentially now both of them are part of the same visualization. Both of them work together. So ideally, both of them should be clubbed together. But right now, if I move this, only my chart is moving. I can move my spin button separately and my chart will remain in the same position. If I want to combine both of them so that both of them move together, I need to place my chart next to my button somewhere around like this. Then right click on my button. Okay. Remember, do not left click, but right click. Once you right click, then you need to click on your button. This allows you to select the button to drag it somewhere else. If you simply click on it and try to drag it, nothing will happen because Excel will take it as a selection change made using these buttons. You need to right click and then click. So it's a two-step process. Once you have the button selected, you can move it around like this. Let's keep it next to our chart. Once you have it here, you can hold Shift and click on your chart so that you select both of them together. Again, hold Shift and select your chart. Now that you have both of them selected together, you can simply right click on your chart or even right click on your button. Anywhere works. Simply right click, go to group and group it together, which makes it one unit. It becomes a group. Now that I have grouped it together, I can simply click on it and move it around, and both the items, both the elements of my button and my chart will move together. I can click on it and move it together. One thing to keep in mind here is that you need to select the outer border to move both the elements together. For example, if you have this outer border here, make sure you click on it and then move it around like this. If by mistake you click on a specific element inside the group and then try to move it, that element will be moving on its own. So make sure the outer element, which is this part, the one that specifies the group of these elements, is selected. And then if you move it across, it will move along with all the items that it has. I'll be placing this on top of my backend data so as to hide it. And now I have a fully functioning dynamic chart with a button which helps me keep on changing data for different years from 2018 downwards, 17, and so on. That's it for this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.